Hi, good evening. This is Ronnie, the wandering musician. How we doing? How we doing? So today I will be doing, I guess, a blog you could say, but this is also part of my assignment for one of my classes for the credential program with National University. This is for ITL 520 Academic Language and Literacy. So this is my reflection video week 3. So I'm going to be talking about communication and relationship building with parents going forward, especially from my time when I was teaching at Los Tules Middle School as the band director at the record at the time. So here are some of the things I want to carry out for the next school year. So just classes in general. I'm definitely going to be utilizing Parent Square bi-weekly regards to upcoming ensemble events and reminders, and especially if I am teaching marching band, I will be going crazy on events and reminders, and as well as fundraising, and then also as far as a parent communication building, definitely I will be having these also a bi monthly meetings with parents. Anything in regards to fundraising. So basically, starting a band boosters club. So that's one of the things I want to address. So just classes in general. One thing I really sucked at while I was teaching was not having my students practice. So what I plan on having my students going forward, like at the end of class, take your instruments at home and practice. So the next thing I'm going to talk about now is practice. So here you go. Take your instruments, at least practice 30 minutes a day. Practice can be an issue. Block out a specific time to practice. Find a practicing place, whether it's a room, garage, or outside. But also, if you are going to be practicing outside, just be mindful about your neighbors and the noise that you are creating. All right. Best to do it whenever, when little brother or big sister or your siblings are not around, or something the parents need to communicate. So that's one thing I want my parents to ensure that they enforce practice and have their children be practicing. Okay, now moving on. Some of the issues that I had, I want my parents to remind our students is to address instrument care, maintenance. All it is, whether you're playing a woodwind or brass, swapping out your instruments, especially if you're a reed player. Be sure to change out the reeds regularly because you don't want to build up mold. What other maintenance? Spit out all the spit out of your brass instrument, whether it's trumpet, baritone, or trombone, or tuba. Just be sure to do that. One other thing, also, whenever you're not practicing your instrument, please put your instruments away. So in case it does not get knocked out or whatnot, right? So that's for the parents. Emails. So this is going to be additional to Parent Square. I will basically be emailing teachers, emailing parents, regarding behavioral issues. Usually minor infractions. And then, or also email parents, hey, Johnny or Jimmy or Haley did a good job, give them some praise. Now we're moving on to phone calls. One thing I will be doing is, parents with behavioral issues, especially if they get a major referral, I will be sure to be contacting them and give them a call and say, hey, this is what Johnny did. Hey, what can we do to mitigate these issues? Communication is key. And also in my experience, I had parents who prefer that, especially because they have a behavioral issue with their students, is for me to call them and it also gives me the opportunity to build up relationships with them, and then also keep them on tabs on their behavior. But lastly, with regarding the phone calls, I'll be calling parents, especially if they are key leaders in the band for the Band Boosters Club, especially when it comes to fundraising, logistics for the upcoming trips or competitions. Uh, uh, but yeah, but anyways, so yeah, that's pretty much it. But just be sure communication and relationship building with the parents, and especially hey, if you are constantly texting or making phone calls with these parents, these are probably going to be great. Um, Again, especially when I'm having these or when I'm planning on having these bi-weekly meetings in the band boosters, that will also be great. I think one thing I do have in mind too with these band boosters club is to ensure is to also invite other parents if they want to, if they want to be a volunteer or be involved. But yeah, of course, there's always one last thing I do want to address, and of course, there is the occasional once, or actually, it was twice a trimester meeting with parents. Have the have the conference, build that relationship, communicate. Yeah, that is all I gotta say. So again, just a review. Bi-weekly parents, bi-monthly parent square is how I go about it. Reminding on events, fundraising, practice. Also talk about practicing. Just ensure, hey, if their students are practicing, you know, finding a practice space, instrumental care, emailing parents in addition to parent square notification, right? Reaching out to parents if students have a minor infractions, or making phone calls with 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 the parents of the students are having bad behavior issues, especially if it goes to a major referral. And then also calling key parents who are leaders in the Boosters Club. But anyways, that is my blog for today, and this is also going to be my submission for my week 3 reflection video. I hope you have a good night. All right, cheers from the Wandering Musician. Goodbye.